Okay, today in the old FJ we're going to be replacing the automatic transmission fluid, and I got this from the manual, and I've got a PDF of this little guy here. It talks about some neat things. It gives us some ideas about checking the level, especially down here, fluid level check, 46 and 56 degrees. So after we go ahead and fill it up, we'll have to go ahead and run the vehicle and double check the level using the overflow tube. Toyota ATF-WS, I went ahead and ordered a bunch of these, and at the same time I'm a Lucas fan, so I will be adding the automatic transmission fluid conditioner. And because my little handy dandy pump is made for a smaller size like this, I went ahead and modified the cap. Here I've got a hole in this one, so I can dump this into one of these, so I can use this little setup here back in this one to get the conditioner in. So let's go ahead and get underneath the vehicle and see what's going on. Alright, here's the bottom of the transmission pan. So this is going to be the little fill tube area here. It looks like a Allen head, so I'll grab a few sizes to make sure I get the right one. That looks like the old drain plug there. And up there, let's see if I can get this for you. Okay, right here, that looks like the old fill level area. They said it was right next to the sensor, which it is, so that's where we'll go ahead and we'll be filling this up. And again, that's where that bottle comes in handy, to be able to put the tube up in there and pump up into it. So one of the things that we'll have to do is, okay, we'll go ahead and drain this out first. Yeah, a little bit of stuff to go ahead and clean up there. Not sure what that is. It might have been from me the other day when I was spraying the oh, it is, it's the degreaser from the other day when I did the transfer case. So I'll go ahead and make sure this is all cleaned up. So again, we'll leave this one in. This is the fill tube. We'll go ahead and drain it, and then we'll start adding. And there's going to be temperatures we have to look for and everything, and I'll kind of go over that a little bit. And this shouldn't be too hard. Again, this would be, God, I don't know, probably about $300 at the dealership. And for me, I've got about $100 worth of parts and oil and all that I'm going to be using. Alright, so the fill plug there, that looks like it's about a 24. However, I only have a deep socket. So what I'm going to be able to use, right there, it looks like 15/16. If I reach up in there, it fits just fine. So that's what I'll basically use to get that off. And as far as the drain plug goes, that is a 14. That's for the drain plug. And as far as this little guy here goes, it's an Allen, and it looks like number 5. That'll save you guys some trouble versus me. I had to keep running back and forth with handfuls of sockets and everything else. So again, the first thing you want to do, and I can't stress it enough, is always take out the fill plug first, because if you can't and you drain this, then you're SOL. So we'll go ahead and we'll take this off first here. Once that's off, we'll go ahead and start the draining, and then we'll just take it from there. Okay, we get the fill plug off. So draining is going to be a piece of cake, and it looks like the fill plug has a rubber O-ring, so no crush washes to worry about. All we have to do is make sure the O-ring is in good shape, and we'll check that on the bench. So for now, we'll come down here. We'll get the actual drain plug off, and we'll start draining this all out, and we'll just kind of take it from there. All right, we've got it draining now. Some guys would say, "Oh, that fluid looks good." Well, here's the problem. Instead of a nice pink, it's actually kind of like a burnt orange. So it's definitely time to replace it. And I'm just a hair under 60,000 miles. So, you know, to replace it as often as you do, you know, vehicles motor oil. But it's good to take a look at after about 60,000 miles. And of course, the dirtier this stuff gets and contaminated, then the less efficient your transmission's going to run. It might be a little sluggish and rough. So let's go ahead and bring the plugs while this is draining. Give this plenty of time to drain. And let's go take it over to the bench and have a look at the plugs. So again, if you just look at the stream coming down, you'd think, it's not too bad. Well, here's fresh transmission fluid here. This is stuff that's coming out of my transmission right now after just under 60,000 miles. It's kind of a big difference, man. It shouldn't look like this. It should have a nice pink color to it. That's why they go ahead and they actually dye these things, so you have some sort of comparison. As far as the plugs go, this fill plug here, again, the O-ring looks good. And this one here, this was the drain. And I'll go ahead and get that little crush washer off of there. It's just kind of stuck due to fluid. And I just happen to have some new crush washers. So here's a nice new one here. I put it in this bag full of the kit I got for the differentials and transfer case. And I bought a bunch of these. So that'll be the nice new one that we're going to use versus this old flat squash one. And it should be slightly rounded, and it's completely flat on top. That's why you really don't want to reuse these guys. Again, just spend a few dollars more and make sure you have everything ahead of time between fluid, any additives, crush washers, etc. And then that way when you put it back together and you torque it down, you're done. You don't have to worry about anything from that point. Little tip to remember, so we have a nice little rubber type of O-ring that's on this one here for the fill. And I went ahead and cleaned it up, but you don't want that O-ring to be dry. So this little test area I showed you guys that has the fresh fluid, I use this to basically wet that O-ring so it's nice and slippery. So when you go to turn it in and basically tighten it up, it slides a bit. It doesn't grip onto dry metal against dry metal and tear or rip, because then you're going to have a leak and you have to get up under there and mess around with this thing. So just go ahead and re-lubricate it with some fresh stuff. Some guys use old. I guess that's fine, but I like to use the fresh stuff since I have it right here. Alright, as you can see there's still a drip. And I do have time. There's no rush this morning, so I'm just going to kind of walk away from the vehicle and let this continue dripping to try to get as much of the old stuff out. There's no need to really pull the pan, replace the gasket, and it's not like the oldies. There's not really a filter. There's kind of a coarse metal screen that protects against chunks and stuff like that, and my vehicle wasn't running funny, so there was no reason to pull it. You can if you really want to, but this time here I even talked to some other techs that do this, and they said as long as you haven't observed any problems, meaning there might be some sort of almost like catastrophic failure inside of the transmission, they said really all they normally do is just replace the fluid like this. So right now we're just going to go ahead and let that continue dripping. I might go ahead and take out the fill tube plug over there with the Allen number 5, and that way I can take that over the bench and clean it up while I'm waiting, double check if there's any crush washers or something like that I need to replace. But I'm going to let this go ahead and keep on dripping for a while. So there again, that's that cap where it actually plugs up the fill tube. When I took that off, a little bit of fluid came out, so of course I had my drain pan ready to pick that up. The old crush wash, you can see that's pretty darn flat versus the nice new one that we're going to put in there to have it take its place. That right on there. So let's go ahead and trash this one. Goodbye. Now there's going to be a lot of crying about this in the comments, but this is what I'm going to use. It's basically a little deal that you can basically just shoot at a piece of material or liquid or fluid or anything like that, and it tells you what the temperature is. Yes, there are some wires you can tap into and you can actually get a more accurate reading, but you know what? This thing isn't a spaceship. It's definitely not an airplane or a jet. It's a Toyota, so the darn thing's pretty well bulletproof, but I'm going to make sure that I get it pretty close to what they want in the instructions here. They're talking about temperatures between 46°C and 56°C down here to make sure that the fluid is at the optimum level and stuff where it's not dripping out anymore, and this should be just fine. I'll shoot this at the pan, and transmission pan again is attached to the fluid, so it's going to be pretty darn close, so I have no problem using this. This was a Harbor Freight Tools. I've never had a problem with this, so I'll use that again today once we get it filled up. Alright, so basically what I've taken out, I didn't have any graduated cylinders or D-flasks or any of that stuff to do any measurements with, so I used an empty gallon container here, which is full, and a little bit of a bottle there, just to measure. I still need to take this up to the recycle center and stuff for the fluids, but basically that's what was in my drain portion here. So that tells me that I can put 4 quarts of automatic transmission fluid in, and I'm going to dump in Lucas automatic transmission fluid conditioner. So I'll put this all in there. I'll start the vehicle, let it warm up. I'll go through all the gears. That way all the fluid's being sloshed around inside. I'll wait till it gets to a certain temperature. And then I'm going to install this first before I do this. And then I'll go ahead and crack this open. I'm not going to tighten it all the way up and just smash that washer. But I will put this in snug. And then I'll let it get up to a certain temperature. I'll take that out and let the excess drain due to expansion. And of course we're talking expansion of not only just the fluid, but nobody talks about metal expands also. And as the metal expands, it basically displaces fluid that's in there. So basically that's why they have this kind of intricate thing about temperatures and all the rest of it. Plus I actually think it's something to get you to go to the dealership and make you afraid to do it yourself. But anyway, that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Unlike some of the Lucas additives, this one here is actually, here I'll squeeze it up a bit. You can see it's actually pink to go with the fluid, and that way there's no coloration change. And that way in the future, if you sell your vehicle or you just do it yourself, you don't think, oh, it went bad because it's a different color. So they try to keep all the colors the same. So let's go ahead and get this over there. Again, take this, just snug it up so it doesn't leak, because I have to take that out after the engine heats up. And we'll get the fluids in. That's the next step. Again, this isn't a very hard procedure at all. Anybody can do this. It just takes a while and you have to be meticulous with it, that's all. Alright, again, so the fill hole up here on the passenger side is open. This is the level check hole. Again, I just snugged it up. I didn't make it real tight or anything, so I only want to go ahead and torque it one time with the crush washer. The same thing with the actual drain. We know it's about, it looks like maybe a gallon plus approximately 10 to 16 ounces extra of fluid. So that's what I'm going to put in. And we're going to let it go ahead and run and heat up. Then once it's at a certain temperature, I'll check it with my little infrared scanning tool. Then we'll open this up with the drain pan and allow any excess to come out so the level is just perfect. We'll put that back in. We'll torque everything up. We'll fill up the fill plug, go ahead and put that in, and at the same time we'll clean this up and we're done. Alright, so the fill plug is in, that's torqued down. Right now I just have these kind of snug. What I did do is go ahead and clean up the pan, degrease it, clean it up good. That way while I'm running, later on after I torque it down, I can check for leaks. And they're kind of hard to see if you have any fluid up there and stuff. So just a quick wipe down. Right now it has all the fluid it needs. I'll go ahead and start it, run through all the gears, and then let the temperature get up to where it's supposed to be, shut it down, and then I'll pull this one out here, see how much drips out. When that stops, I'm done. Put this back on, torque it down, clean it up, and we're finished with the automatic transmission. Alright, so right now, I've taken it through all the gears a few times, sitting here at idle, air conditioner off. And it's climbing, it's already up to 30. So when this hits 46, I'm going to go ahead and check the level, shut the vehicle off, check the level. Actually, they say to check it while it's idling, so I'll check the level, put the drain pan back underneath, catch the overflow, clean everything back up, torque, and then we're done. Alright, so to finish up the video again, make sure you have some fresh crush washers. Double check any O-rings. If you got to replace those, replace them. There's things you can do as far as O-rings go. I believe it was years ago off of Amazon. I don't think this was Harbor Freight, but anyway, an O-ring assortment. And the neat thing about this is it's all the properties that O-rings have. Is an oversized one I shoved down in there, but it's all the O-rings you'll ever need, pretty much. It's always nice to have these on hand just in case you run into something. You can just go ahead and replace it instead of grabbing the one that you have, going to the hardware store and paying about 1,000% more than it would cost you if you just got a whole set. So that's one way of getting around it. As far as the fluid goes, okay, I don't know why it's such a big friggin' mystery on the YouTube and on the internet, especially those useless forums. If you just drain it, in other words, you don't take the pan off, you don't do the filter and stuff, but if you just drain it, it's going to take a little more than 4 quarts. That's it.
So I would suggest you might be able to get away with right at 4 quarts, or like you saw that I added the 20 ounces of the Lucas additive, and I got out about, probably after it was all heated up, probably about 10 ounces is what came out. So that's pretty much what I did, but that's all you need. You only need 4. You don't need 6, you don't need 8. You don't keep running it and flushing it and all this other stuff. You just drain it and replace it, and that's all it is. Straight up. Okay, so that's it for this exciting adventure of working with the transmission. The neat thing is once you've done it, next time it won't hardly take it, especially if I don't have to film it, it won't hardly take any time at all. So this will come in handy for the next replacement I have to do in about another 60,000 miles, and I pretty much have everything else. So that's it, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you again on another YouTube video here real soon.